Hello Aries, and welcome to your in-depth monthly horoscope for October. This is for the Sun or the Ascendant. Now what I'm going to do is give you the broad themes to look out for, but please stay with me. I will then dive deep to give you in forensic detail each of the key influences and changes particularly relevant to your sign. Now this month is going to see the Sun journeying with Venus in an incredibly potent way, and the first 3 weeks of this month they're in your sector of relating. They actually come into an exact conjunction on the 22nd, but the full moon, which occurs in your sign on the 9th, is also embracing those energies of Venus, but also sees the Sun, Saturn and Mars come together in a grand air trine. That's really exciting because for your sign that gives you an opportunity to articulate your ideas with real passion and verve. Now Pluto, the planet of change, which has been going through your sector of work and your role in the wider world since 2008, that ends a retrograde on the 8th. Also on the 23rd, Saturn ends its retrograde. So that's going to be something that we're all going to appreciate. But your ruler Mars is in an awkward square with Neptune for the whole of this month, and is going to be so also in November. But they come into an exact square on the 12th of this month. That's going to be repeated on the 19th of November and again in March next year. This is a really awkward influence because as much as that full moon gives you an opportunity to really say how you feel around your relationship situation and relationships of all kinds, the thing that's going to be really crucial is that you're basing your expression on some known and rather firm facts, and Neptune has an amazing ability to distort and disturb reality. So that's something that I really need to go through with you. Also Jupiter is going to rewind out of your sign this month, so that's really critically important. And we have a solar eclipse, and that solar eclipse occurs on the 25th. But it could be very positive for you around your long-term finances. So please stay with me as I dive deep. But if you would like to ascend above this zodiac broadcast, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data of time, date and place of birth, I can give you a roadmap that can last you for the rest of your life, and also your year 2023 personal forecast. As well, if you order now the rest of this year free, and this entire package 30% off, please see the link beneath this video. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be honoured if you did so now. If you've already done so, thank you so much. But if not, please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. So Aries, as you make your way into October, the Sun is in your sector of relating along with Venus, which governs that sign, and this combination can give you through the first 3 weeks a real gift for finding the way to interact with others with grace. Grace is something that we don't see a lot of these days. You know, people can be pretty hostile to one another, particularly on social media. It is true that by week 3, and in particular the 19th of this month, the Sun and Venus are going to be squaring up with Pluto, and it suggests that however much you do try to see the other person's viewpoint, someone may feel that perhaps you're not being completely sincere, or maybe trying to mask some real differences through an apparent diplomacy. On the other hand, maybe a professional opportunity will be presented to you that seems really very promising, but you will need to strip back the veneer of pleasantries to try to understand if there are any strings attached. But for your relationships, I think Venus being alongside the Sun, pretty close, and by the 22nd bound together in a conjunction. It could, if you're single, bring someone really significant into your world this month. If you're in a relationship, this is an opportunity to interact with one another. And sometimes the greatest thing we can do in life is to actually just see that the other person just thinks and goes about things in a different way, whoever they're dealing with, not necessarily just us. So it makes it a little bit less personal. Now, also on the 2nd of this month, Mercury, the planet of communication, goes direct in the sign of Virgo. It's possible that an appointment has been cancelled, or maybe a situation has felt rather brittle. Now your precision and attention to detail can be rewarded. Now, since April the 29th, Pluto has been retracing its steps in your sector of success. And of course, Pluto is very much to do with deepest desires, sometimes the desires that are not necessarily particularly obvious. But if you have felt that your professional situation has been going through one change after the other since 2008, I think Pluto going forwards now can give you a little bit of a release for the time being from that constant sense of trying to find what your identity is in the wider world. Now, by the 9th, that full moon in your sign is going to make you think very carefully about pre-existing relationships. If you're not in one, you still have an opportunity over the following 2 weeks to think about what you need, what you're prepared to give, but also get a little clearer on what other people may expect from you. And that's something that I feel that Venus being at the other end of the polarity from the full moon can actually be very healing. And as I said before, because Mars, very passionate energy, your ruler, in your 3rd house of everyday communication, is linking so brilliantly with Saturn in your sector of friendship, and then linking back to your sign, and then the Sun and Venus in the sign of Libra. There's an interactivity here which really does encourage sharing feelings, getting things out into the open, having constructive debates, but most of all embracing the concept of listening, which is something many people are much more reluctant to do these days. Now, week 2 is also going to see the Sun in Libra, pretty close to Venus too, in a very constructive link with Saturn, so it runs on from that full moon. Saturn at this point of the month is in retrograde, and it's in your sector of future plans, but also friendship. If there has been some strains with certain players in your world, this would be a good time to straighten things out, or to actually just come to a point of peace that maybe that's not possible. And, it's about connecting to the people that really do understand where we're coming from. And we can't win all of the battles all of the time. So if there has been tensions, maybe this can be a point when you can be more philosophical about it. What's going to help that process is that Mercury then returns to the sign of Libra, the sector of relating. Now, it's here from August the 26th to September the 23rd before inversing back into your 6th house. So this is a real good signifier of how you can get the dialogue going. Maybe that there's going to be some emails or text messages pinging backwards and forwards. And it will be very helpful because on the 12th, Mars is in that exact square with Neptune. And I should just reiterate that the 3rd 12th house angle is not great, and this is going on all this month and next month. It's not great for getting too caught up in gossip, or if people have got tittle tattle or hearsay, you may want to be polite, but I really wouldn't get involved. Some of the energy that's going to be going around for us all collectively is not going to be necessarily very noble or very reassuring. So watch out for anyone who may be a bit tricksy about what they tell you, because they may have something of an agenda. But Saturn going direct on the 23rd is something to really celebrate, because I feel that If your long-term future has felt like it is slowed down and has felt quite heavy, you've not really seen how things are going to evolve at quite the pace you would like, since June the 4th, you can start to see that things will develop and inch forwards. The 23rd, however, is not just a big day because of Saturn going direct. Venus and the Sun both move collectively into the sign of Scorpio. There's been plenty of conversations in the first 3 weeks of this month, but this transition into Scorpio is going to see you making some much deeper decisions. Also, if there is somebody that you've been drawn towards, it could get seriously sensual, not just from now, but actually over the next 6 months. Or somebody could come into your world over this next half year who really has a radical impact upon you. So why should this be? Well, we have a solar eclipse on the 25th in Scorpio, which is a deep dive, but it is conjunct Venus. This could also be really quite favourable when it comes to your finances, and I don't say this lightly because I know we're all facing significant headwinds, pretty well every citizen in the world, but I feel that there could be something that you benefit from, and it could be a legacy, it could be an inheritance, it may be a property sale, it may be that a savings plan or an investment or an insurance policy can really come back to you in quite a pleasing way over the next half year. Now the 28th, however, does see Jupiter invert out of your sign and into Pisces. But just remember, although this may seem to take the thrust off your individual plans and ask you to embrace the more meditative and spiritual side of your nature, the more healing side. Do you know Jupiter governs the sign of Pisces, not just your sister fire sign of Sagittarius? So having Pisces, the Pisces influence on Jupiter is going to emphasize your ability to really draw in all sorts of different ways of looking at life, but also different healing techniques. The last time that Jupiter was in Pisces was on May the 10th. Now it's going to come back into your sign on December the 20th, and it will go direct on November the 23rd. So just go with this. If there's part of you that just feels like drawing in a little bit from some of that more sociable interaction earlier in the month, just go with it. It's fine. There's so much knowledge and wisdom that you've been gaining with Neptune moving through your 12th house since 2008. Jupiter moving back into this location, which of course the other co-regent of the sign, they were conjunct on the 12th of April this year in the sign of Pisces, which may have been a time when you really had an even greater appreciation of the psychic domain or the way to pick up energy in an unspoken fashion. But also the 29th sees Mercury dive deep into the sign of Scorpio too. Mercury here is not so much interested in the conversation, it's much more interested in what was really meant, the subtext. But also, if you are wanting to explore things like astrology or other esoteric strands, a fantastic time to do so. But also a wonderful time to think about your financial situation, and if you are an entrepreneurial type of person, you could come up with all sorts of ideas during the next 3 weeks that can see you be very canny indeed. Now on the 30th, Mars does go into a retrograde, and obviously your personal planet slowing down, and it's going to be in retrograde through to January the 12th next year, is not necessarily so easy for you. If you have been feeling much more active since the end of August, it wouldn't be a surprise. If your inquisitivity has been greater, if you've been a bit more interactive when it comes to technology, it wouldn't be a surprise. But this, and also the square with Neptune, just suggests that whatever the conversation is, understanding what the psychological roots or where people are truly coming from, even if it's unspoken, is really the lesson of Mars this month. But Also, from the 25th through to the 29th, Mercury does, just before it moves into Scorpio, does forge a very testing right angle with Pluto. But maybe this is also going to see a little bit of a clash of worlds, perhaps in the professional domain. But I think that when Mercury then dives deep, your ability to think about things in a different way that's coming through the energy of Neptune and Jupiter is really going to give you some added assets. Now, because Saturn's going to move into this area from March the 7th next year, that also is going to be another way that you can evolve and develop the deeper part of your being. And it is going to be an exciting opportunity, even if potentially a little challenging in some other ways. But this month is very much about relationships, I feel, and the relationships that are really meaningful, but also learning to let go of some of the smaller irritations that may not please you. But in the last 10 days of this month, I feel you're going to be really gripped with a desire for very meaningful connections, and it could be very exciting for your love life.